SNL coming your way. Landry Locker will be back next week. Hope you have a fantastic Memorial Day weekend. As you made it to Friday, you made it to the end of the week, you made it to the 3-day weekend. If you don't have a 3-day weekend, hey, appreciate you for working during the 3-day weekend. Lots to get into on the show today. I feel like we're going to have a fantastic discussion when it comes to obscure Houston Texans in history. Man, I've got a very fun conversation that I want to have with you about obscure Texans in history. But what I really want to talk about today is Jayden Higgins as pass-catching threat number 3 and how important that is to the Houston Texans in 2025. Because I was sitting here thinking about this Texans team, thinking about this passing attack, and obviously we know Nick Caley's got to be really good at what he does, the new offensive coordinator. And we know that the offensive line's got to be much better than they were. Those two things go without saying when you talk about the Texans having a passing attack that you could really brag about, a passing attack that you would rank amongst some of the best in all of football. So then I started to really kind of go through the pass catching options that the Texans have, go look at comparing them to some of the other top passing teams in the NFL last year. And I really came to the conclusion that if Jayden Higgins is that dude, if Jayden Higgins is the guy that you can rely on as that third pass catching threat, you're going to find yourself with a really, really good passing offense in the 2025 season for the Houston Texans. So really, when I looked at these top passing attacks across football, and when I looked at what exactly they had, a third pass catcher threat is necessary. You must have a third pass catching threat. And they don't have to always be the third guy, because as we'll talk about one of these teams, they kind of had a little swapsies due to injury. But when you look around the league, top passing attack last year, Cincinnati, obviously Jamar Chase. T. Higgins was fantastic, under 1,000 yards, but he was a touchdown machine. And then they had Mike Gesicki check in pretty close to those two guys. And they even had Andre Yosevas, who got to around 500 or so yards. That's even a fourth threat there for Cincinnati. But really, again, got three guys: Chase, Higgins, Gesicki. Detroit, second in passing yards last year. We know about Amon-Ra St. Brown. We know about Jamison Williams. Then they had Sam Laporta, checked in right about 900 yards or so, a little under 900 yards. Tampa, Mike Evans, Kate Otten, their tight end. Chris Godwin to start the year, McMillan to finish the year. Okay, again, three guys. San Fran, George Kittle, Juwan Jennings, Deebo Samuel, three guys. Minnesota, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, T.J. Hawkinson. And when they didn't have Hawkinson early on in the season, Jalen Naylor. Remember him really putting it on the Texans, a couple of big plays when the Texans played Minnesota last year? Again, three guys. So when you look at the Houston Texans, who's that third guy? Who's the guy that's going to be that third pass-catching threat for the Houston Texans? We're going to dive into it. We're going to talk about it, why it should be Jayden Higgins. Rich Boy said, Jay asks, is he live or is this pre-recorded? Live, in living color, Rich Boy Jay. SNL is live each and every weekday at 4 p.m. No Landry Locker today. You just got me, but there's still plenty to talk about. We are live. Kylan says, other than Detroit, those teams had no running game. It's a good point. It's a good point. You don't always want to have one of the best passing attacks in all of football, because a lot of times that's going to mean something went wrong. That's going to mean that something wasn't going right for your team. Look, if the Texans are one of the top passing teams in football, two things probably are true. It means Joe Mixon's not very good, and it means that defense isn't as good as we thought it was going to be. Because if you've got a great defense, typically you don't throw the ball a lot. Typically you throw the ball enough, get ahead, and then you run the ball to finish the games out. But there will be times, and you look at some of the teams the Texans are going to play, that defense is going to hold its own. You're still going to need to be an effective and dangerous passing attack. You still want that third pass-catching option. And I really do feel like it can be Jayden Higgins. I really do. Even as a rookie, I do believe Jayden Higgins can be that guy. I believe that Jayden Higgins, behind Nico Collins and behind Christian Kirk, can go out there and have a stellar season as a rookie as that clear third pass catcher. And I was looking around, poking around ESPN. Mike Clay does a great job with some of their fantasy conversations. 5th in rookie receiving production in his projections. How about Jayden Higgins? How about 723 yards and 4 touchdowns for Jayden Higgins? When you think about that as a third option, when you think about that as the third wide receiver for the Houston Texans, and you think about that as a rookie season, that's pretty darn good. An ESPN rookie season projection for Jayden Higgins, 723 yards and 4 touchdowns. That would have been the 6th best rookie wide receiver season last year in what's a loaded rookie wide receiver season. Obviously, Brian Thomas Jr., Malik Neighbors were incredible. Their team sucked. They didn't have other options. Brock Bowers, Raiders sucked, didn't have other options. Ladd McConkey was a 1,000-yard receiver for a playoff team. He's the top wide receiver. Marvin Harrison Jr. is the top wide receiver on an offense that stinks. Jayden Higgins puts up 723 yards and 4 touchdowns in a Texans offense that should have Nico Collins and Christian Kirk ahead of him. That's a really damn good passing attack. That's Jayden Higgins taking this passing attack along with Nick Caley being better, offensive line being better, Stroud bouncing back, pushing it into that elite stratosphere. Now, the total numbers may not be elite because you're going to get a lead and you're going to run on people. But if he puts off 723 and 4 touchdowns, that's a worthwhile season for a rookie. And as a third wide receiver, be huge for the Houston Texans. Look at the past 10 years of number 2 wide receivers. I went and looked at this earlier this year. Look at the past 10 years for number 2 wide receivers. Higgins would have one of the best seasons ever if he hit this projection for a number 2 wide receiver in Texans history, much less being the number 3. Man, Will Fuller was good, wasn't he? We're gonna track down Will Fuller. If he wants to be found this summer, we will find Will Fuller. But just last year, number 2 wide receiver, Tank Dell, 667 and 3 touchdowns. Heck, 2 years ago, again, the projection for Higgins, 723 and 4 touchdowns. That's more than Tank Dell 2 years ago. And Tank Dell had a fantastic rookie year 2 years ago before it was cut short via injury. Now, obviously, this is Higgins' number over 17. Dell did it over, 12 2 years ago? So it's a little different. The per game better for Tank Dell. But you can definitely see how if Higgins is this good, the Texans have a really impressive passing attack. You could definitely see an avenue to a really impressive passing attack with Nico Collins and Christian Kirk and Jayden Higgins playing at that high level. You've got to have that third pass-catching threat. You've got to have that third guy that you can lean on from time to time because the top 2 guys are having an off day or you face a good – there's not many defenses built to slow down 3 good pass catchers. There's really not. Certainly the Texans aren't going to face a lot of them. So if a rookie comes in, has the season that I believe Higgins could have, you're talking about a really impressive 1, 2, 3 from a pass catching standpoint. And that's just the top 3 receivers, not to mention what Nick Caley could do with tight ends, what Joe Mixon and Woody Marks could bring to the table receiving out of the backfield. You start to kind of see like the path to an elite passing attack is there in 2025. Obviously, we started it with the caveat, Nick Caley's got to be good at what he does. Offensive line's got to be better. So there's plenty to chat about when it comes to that third pass catching threat. If it's not Jayden Higgins, who could it be? We'll talk about that in a moment. HDAV Traveler weighs in. Afternoon, Cody and friends. Good to see you, HDAV Traveler. Appreciate you for the super chat. Always appreciate it. Somebody says, from the kitchen. Panda says, from the kitchen. Yeah, over at my mom's place, watching it while she's out of town. And I'm having a little bit of AC problems. A little warm over at the Stoots compound. So we're over at Mama Stoots' abode here. Brian says, I really feel like us being 11 or 12 win team this year because I know passing game will be good and our line being better. Yeah, if the line's better and the passing attack is borderline elite, so let's just say it's really good, combined with a defense that we all believe is going to check up a little bit, it's pretty exciting. Do you think Higgins can lead the Texans in year one or will need seasoning? I mean, lead is probably the wrong way to phrase it when you've got Nico Collins on this team. Like, Nico Collins is always going to be the top option. Like, Higgins is not catching up to Nico Collins anytime soon. So can he be a big factor? Certainly. Lead? Probably not. Probably not. Probably not. Now, if it's not Jayden Higgins, if he's not going to rattle off this ESPN rookie season projection, who could be threat 3? Who could be threat 3 for this Texans passing attack if it's not Jayden Higgins? Could a tight end be threat 3? I went through those teams, Cincinnati and Detroit and Tampa Bay and San Francisco and Minnesota. All of those teams, their top 3 pass catchers, one of them was a tight end. Gesicki, Laporta, Otten, Kittle, Hawkinson. All of them had a tight end in their top 3 pass catchers, had their talent distributed to their skill position players a little differently than the Texans do. Could the Texans have that tight end? Well, if Nico Collins had a big enough year and Christian Kirk had a big enough year, and let's say Dalton Schultz bounced back to 2023 Dalton Schultz, then yeah, it could be a tight end. But then if you had a tight end doing that and Jayden Higgins, then it get pretty exciting. That'll get pretty exciting. And again, this is all with the caveat that the line takes care of their business. And the Texans certainly believe that they've done enough to change the outcome of what the line is going to bring to the table. But could it be a tight end? Is Brevin Jordan likely to do that? Probably not. I know there's a lot of people excited about Brevin Jordan in this upcoming season. It's great that he got to come back. He's familiar with the Texans. It's a comfort place for him. Is Brevin Jordan that guy? Probably not. Like, if Brevin Jordan rattled off basically his career numbers in one season, that'd be awesome, but I just don't believe it's going to happen. Stover probably not ready to take that leap as the pass catching threat. Probably not ready to impact things to such a high level. So if it's going to be a tight end, it has to be Dalton Schultz. What about Jalen Noel? Could Jalen Noel be that third pass-catching threat? I mean, he could. He could. The tough part about Noel is, and I know Landry's a lot more bullish on him than I am, I felt like there's going to be a groove that he has to get into as a professional football player. I felt like he was miscast as an immediate impact player for any team. For the Texans, being able to ease him into what he can do, it feels to me like it's unlikely he's that third pass catcher for you, but he could contribute. The speed is obviously very important. He's going to be one of the fastest wide receivers that they have. The inside-outside versatility, being able to maybe fill in for Christian Kirk to spell Jayden Higgins on the outside, like, that's a useful asset for Jalen Noel. I just felt like there's a ramp-up period that's going to be necessary for him that maybe isn't necessary for all the wide receivers and is not necessary for Higgins, that could keep him from being that guy. Pass catcher number 3. Could we have, and I love a rhyme, threat 3 by committee? Threat 3 by committee? So maybe 1 week it's Jayden Higgins. 1 week it's the tight ends. 1 week it's the running backs. 1 week it's Justin Watson because DeMeco Ryans loves him. 1 week it is Jalen Noel. Now, that's not as reliable, but there's certainly options, but you'd prefer to have just one guy be that person that contributes to a large degree as that third pass catcher. You'd prefer it to be one person in the upcoming season, because as I looked through the top passing attacks in football, it was really the top 3 guys for Cincinnati. Detroit, same thing. Tampa Bay, they had to swap out Godwin because of the injury, but he was awesome to start the year. San Francisco, they lost Ayuk. They didn't get Pearsall early, so it was Jennings from the start. It was Kittle from the start, and it was Deebo Samuel from the start. Minnesota, Justin Jefferson. You missed Addison for a minute, but you got him back pretty soon. You missed Hawkinson to start the year, but once he was back, boom, it was clearly the 3. So threat 3 by committee, not as good. Certainly possible for the Texans. Because maybe it is Higgins one week, and then it's Knoll, and then it's Justin Watson, and then it's the tight ends as a whole, and then it's the throwback Dalton Schultz game. Then it's Woody Marks and Joe Mixon catching the ball one game. So threat 3 by committee, maybe. But ultimately, I lean on this and I land on this. If it is Jayden Higgins, and he can become one of the best rookie wide receivers this year, and can play like one of the best rookie wide receivers this year consistently, the Texans are going to find themselves with an elite passing attack, assuming some good health for Nico Collins and for Christian Kirk. There's a few ifs. They're not impossible ifs, but a good Higgins, a good Kirk, a good Collins, and you find yourself with an elite passing attack. Now, maybe your numbers aren't going to be top 5, like a Cincinnati, a Detroit, a Tampa Bay, a San Fran from last year. Maybe the numbers aren't going to be there because in a perfect world, they throw the ball early to get up. They unleash the hounds of hell that are that defense for the Houston Texans, and they don't have to worry about throwing the ball again. They just put it in Joe Mixon's belly, run the clock out in the fourth quarter, really kind of grind teams out, and don't have to throw the ball a lot. Cincinnati, top in passing last year because the defense sucked, okay? The defense sucked last year. Detroit couldn't stop people late in the year, so they had to go back and forth with teams. Okay? If you stop people, you don't throw the ball as much. That's just kind of how it works. Esco noticed something very funny about how I put 3 up. I put up the German 3. And I started doing this for 2 reasons. One, Dirk Nowitzki, when he'd hit a 3, he'd put up the German 3. And then that scene in Inglourious Bastards, the movie, where the guy messes up and he does the incorrect 3, and they know he's not actually German. They know he's an American spy. And I like the German 3 more than the American 3. Or sometimes I do hit one of these. The 3 goggles back in the day where I didn't hit a lot of 3s, but the 3 but I do the German 3. Now, I don't, if I'm counting down, I don't know that I always do that, but how often? I'm not a teacher. I'm not counting down on my hand. So there you go. But yeah, I do the German 3 when I put 3 up. Good to see you, Mario. Appreciate you jumping in. Primetime Vari. But what if everything is just clicking in the run game and defense, with the offense still as a top passing team? Look, if everything clicks with the defense and the rushing attack, they're not going to want to throw the ball more. They might be a highly efficient passing offense, but the counting stats are going to be much lower. You're not going to be near Cincinnati and Detroit and Tampa Bay's numbers from 2024. Because if you're efficient, that's the dream. What you're talking about, primetime, that's the dream. The dream is that you do have a really good defense, you run the ball really well, and you just need to throw enough every game. Like, that's the dream. The dream is not, what Cincinnati did, leading the league in passing. H-Town Highlights has his top 3. Nico Collins, Christian Kirk, Jayden Higgins, Dalton Schultz, Jalen Knoll. You're probably right about that. Probably right about that. Brian weighs in. I feel like our wide receiver room is going to be great this year with a bounce back year from CJ Stroud. I certainly understand why you feel that way. Like, the concern about the offense is not really depth at wide receiver. It's not really a CJ Stroud concern. It's more, is Nick Caley everything he's supposed to be? I believe he is. And is this offensive line going to be better? If you check the Caley and the offensive line box, I mean, you're talking about a very, very, very fun team to watch on offense. Big balls on my team. Definitely depends on injuries. Chemistry with CJ. I got to imagine the chemistry with Stroud's not going to be tough to find. You're going to get opportunities. You're going to get options. Got to imagine that it's going to be it's not going to be tough to find. So I'm not super worried about that. David likes Knoll for wide receiver 3. All right, so that's certainly, Landry Locker's bullish on Jaylen Knoll. Of course, Landry will be back next week. It is SNL, myself, Landry Locker from the locker room, usually here for you. But Landry getting vacation weekend started early. I'm holding down the fort, having some fun with y'all. Be thinking about your obscure Texans here in a minute. We're gonna get some obscure Texans here in a minute. Geo Central says Kalen Bullock got number 2 now. Any thoughts on who will get 21? So we get a number change here. Is that what happened? I haven't seen that. We got a Kalen Bullock number change. Oh. So it takes Robert Woods' old number. Well, that number 2 looks... Did I always know that the number 2s looked that snazzy? Did I always know the number 2s looked that snazzy in the new font? Huh. Who get 21? That's got to be a DB, right? Trading all good. You call the AC guy used to advertise? Of course I called Dwayne at Platinum AC and Heating. Okay, of course I called Dwayne at Platinum AC and Heating. You know it. Talked to Dwayne a bunch over the past couple of days. Toke with me. Name your 5 to 6 wide receivers for 2025, Cody. Nico, are you talking about on the Texans? Because on the Texans, it's pretty easy. It's Nico Collins, then Christian Kirk, then Jayden Higgins. I will go with Justin Watson, then Jaylen Knoll, and then I will go with Braxton Berrios, and I believe they're going to keep 6. Now, if you're talking about in the NFL, this upcoming season, Brian Thomas Jr., and this is no particular order, Brian Thomas Jr., Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. Those are the 3 that I think you just have to have on there no matter what. If you're talking about in the entire NFL. Amon-Ra St. Brown. Can Nico be I would say Nico with CeeDee Lamb right there. Nico and CeeDee Lamb probably swapping spots. And then, there's no reason to think Malik Neighbors won't just have an incredible year. He had 1,200 yards last year, and they're just going to continue to air the ball out. So that'd be my NFL if you were asking that. Brandon notes Stover with the tight end whisperer Nick Caley. I say tight end whisperer in jest. He coached some good tight ends in New England. Obviously, the tight end production in LA was what it was. He was in charge of that as well. But we know he likes the position. So Patrick asked a question. If it's pass catching threat 3 by committee, that speaks to coaching and scheme, right? Yeah, that does speak to a really good job coaching them up and scheming them up. You're right, Patrick, that does. As he notes, it was DT by committee. It'd probably be DT by committee again this week. Paul, tush, push, Titus. Tush, push, Titus. Italo Macedo. How often do wide receivers explode in their first year in the NFL? What's exploding? Brian Thomas Jr. is one of the best wide receivers in all of football last year as a rookie. There have been a lot of good rookie wide receivers, and it does feel easier for rookies to impact at that position than it used to be. I don't know that Higgins is an explode candidate, but if he's the 5th scorer at wide receiver, like ESPN's fantasy projections expect him to be, that's a really good season from him. It's a really good season. 1984, Kate. I think it'll be committee type approach based on Nick discussing his time with the Patriots and each week looking at the matchups. Yeah, if they do the matchup based, If they go matchup-based offense or game plan offense like Bill O'Brien used to talk about, then it could be frequently changing. J.B. Allen, the Annihilator. The assumption should be Higgins is number 2, and if Higgins doesn't show that in minicamp, then it's like the water boy. Oh, our wide receivers stink again. No, I don't know that it should be like that. Christian Kirk, when healthy, Christian Kirk is a very reliable wide receiver. His health hasn't been reliable. But when he's on the field, Kirk has every advantage to be ahead of Jayden Higgins this year. Every advantage. Do you hoop, Cody? Nah, I would love to get some pickup games together, but I'm not good. I'm not good. How many 2 tight end sets do you think the Texans use this year? Hopefully less than last year. Hopefully less than last year. And I'm going to predict less than last year as well. Just put one guy out there, let him go to work. When do offensive players start learning the new terminology? They're already working on it. They've already been in the building, working out, getting their playbooks and stuff like that. It's already happening. So they're already working on that new terminology. That is something that they're going to have to roll through in Nick Caley. Did they go? Okay, so I see people in the comment section. Did they go and did they finally put everybody on the roster with a number here? Has everybody got a number now on the rosters? See people talking about numbers. Has everybody got a number on the roster page now? No, they don't have everybody with a number. Is that just that account updating with the numbers? That's what's happening. Brady Batchy asks, how do you rank these wide receivers? John Mechie, Braxton Berrios, Xavier Hutchinson, Justin Watson. I'd go Watson as a wide receiver. I'd go Watson, Hutchinson, Berrios, Mechie. I just don't believe Berrios is going to play much wide receiver. I feel like he's going to be primarily a special teams guy. So it's hard to put him in the conversation. But I'd put Mechie behind those other couple of guys. No A.J. Brown in your top 5 or 6? No. Mm-mm. He's close. He's certainly in the conversation. Should be in the conversation. Will we broadcast Monday? Yes. We will broadcast Monday. Is Cade Stover taking into over as tight end number 1? No, probably not. I mean, they may use him a lot for a lot of different things, but I still think Schultz will be statistically more impressive. Do we re-sign Autry? I mean, he's still on the team. I haven't seen anything about. I mean, did I miss something? Don't feel like I missed anything. Go check Aaron Wilson's Twitter account. If something on the transaction wire happened, he'll let me know. I'm kidding, Aaron. I'm kidding. Mechie's about done, huh? So based on that ranking, does Mechie not make the team? I don't see a path for him. Doesn't help out on special teams much, if at all. They have 4 guarantees. The way they've talked about Justin Watson makes him kind of a guarantee. That's 5. Berrios is a former All-Pro at special teams. I don't know how you get Mechie on the roster. Hutchinson's better than him. I don't know how you get him on there. So Blue Boy says, last night Landry said something I've been saying for the last 2 seasons. If the O-line doesn't work this time, Caserio will be the odd man out if ownership wants change. Yeah, but if they're a 6-win football team because the offensive line stunk, then yeah, Caserio gets fired. But I don't see that happening. Like, the offensive line is disappointing. They could still be a 10-win football team. And maybe even win the AFC South, and maybe even win a playoff game. Before we're really thinking about Nick Caserio losing his job, we're probably at you needed 2 disappointing seasons before that would happen, right? He's definitely next in line. And if there's disappointment and there's a change to be made, it's far more likely he's fired than D'Amico Ryans being fired. Far more likely. So, okay. I want to do something really off the wall and goofy here. So just be thinking. I don't want you Googling. Okay, I can't tell if you have or haven't. I don't want you Googling. Just think in the back of your head. I want you to be thinking about obscure Houston Texans through history. Okay? Obscure Houston Texans through history. So just be thinking, don't put it in the chat just yet. But I thought this was really funny. I saw this on TikTok. I thought this was really funny. And then it got me thinking, and I want to do a little giveaway, have some fun with you guys here. So there's a fellow on TikTok, and he wrote a handwritten letter to all 32 NFL teams. And all he did, I don't know exactly the parameters, all he did was just ask for an autograph. Just said, hey, can I have an autograph? Bold approach. Bold approach. But if you don't ask, you don't get. So he wrote to all 32 teams asking, can I have an autograph? Some teams sent some stuff back. Well, the Texans sent some stuff back. This is the guy's video, and I want you to watch this, and then we'll play a little game here.
I wrote a letter to every single NFL team asking for an autograph, and this is day 9. Today's response is from the Texans. I'm very excited to show what they sent me. They sent something incredible, and I got a signed autograph from number 68, the center. You can see the signature there. Super thankful to get that. It's incredible. You know, we're after those autographs, so that was very exciting to see. Again, very thankful to the Texans for that, and number 68 for the signature. So that's incredible. So come back tomorrow for day 10.
All right, so now look, if you're the Texans, and the guy's name, I think is Wilson White or Michael White, whatever it was, on TikTok, and you can see all what other teams sent him and stuff like that. If you're the Texans, you get that letter. The guy's not a Texans fan. You do a little double check, and you see that he's doing this for all the teams. And you got that. You got a Justin Britt autograph laying around. Why not send it to him? You know, like the Texans, you know, this is kind of like a social media thing more than it's like PR or anything else. But like their social media team does a pretty good job of, like, there was the teacher where she like taught her class math with like football, and the Texans sent her a bunch of cool stuff. And one of the kids there was a big Stroud fan. So he got like a Stroud autograph. But like, this is just random guy, not even a Texans fan. Hey, can I have an autograph? All right, what do we got lying around? How about this Justin Britt autograph? Let's send it back to him. So yes, the guy got a Justin Britt autograph from the Houston Texans. Britt, if you remember, retired in the middle of his last season as the member of the Texans. So, I don't know what I thought he would get. Certainly not something awesome or like a helmet or a jersey or something. But for, hey, I'm not a fan, just do you have an autograph lying around to get a Justin Britt? Cool. And the guy's like, thanks, 68. 68 not on the team anymore. 68 not in football anymore. I think Justin Britt does like marathons now. I think he's a marathon runner. But I thought it was funny. He did say the Texans are one of the few teams that has sent him an autograph. So I thought that was cool. So now in the chat, I want to play a game. And I got I'll do a restaurant gift card. It's Valencia's Tex-Mex Garage. I'll do a Valencia's Tex-Mex Garage restaurant gift card. I want the most obscure Houston Texan that you can think of. Before you put your submission in, only one per user. So get as obscure as you can. When you make your first guess, that's the one that you submit in. And we'll kind of talk about it here for the next few minutes about obscure Houston Texans through history. And if you are the most obscure in the chat in the next 5 minutes or so, okay, I'll send you a gift card to get you some Mexican food. Okay? So obscure Houston Texans of history. And I'll do my best. I'll do my best to give you a little comment or two about them. Zach Rose, Brandon Weeden. That's former Texans backup quarterback Brandon Weeden. At the time I was covering the team, I was walking in Target and I walked past Brandon Weeden. We did the old little, like he knew who I was. I knew who he was. He had like a big thing. I think he had diapers in his hand, just like crossing ships in Target, the Target over there in Meyerland one day. Brandon Weeden. That's pretty obscure. It's pretty obscure. DeMarcus Fagans. Yep. That's obscure. I'm going to say TFC's in the lead right now. I'm going to say TFC's in the league right now. Ooh, Keith Mumphrey. Michigan State was kind of hanging around the roster. People thought maybe there was going to be something there for Mumphrey. He got accused of something at Michigan State. Texans let him go. He later, I believe, cleared his name. And, but I don't think he played much NFL football after that. Jaden says, I'm sure there's a stack of Justin Brits for letter writers. Yeah, maybe. Oh, Arthur. This is a deep pool. BJ Daniels. He was on the Texans in 2015. And I know he's going to be listed as a quarterback, but he was like, I think he was on the team as like an emergency quarterback, but they also maybe, I think it was like used him as a wide receiver a little bit, but that's pretty good. Randy Bullock, I'm going to say BJ Daniels in the lead right now. Jerome Mathis, a good one. Man, Jerome Mathis was really good in Madden as a returner. Sage Rosenfeld's not obscure enough because he's going to be forever remembered for one of the most incredible moments in Texans history. In the wrong way. Connor Barwin's a good one. People forget how good Connor Barwin was. He was probably better when he left the Texans, but he was a solid player there for a while. Tony Banks, the first backup quarterback for the Texans. It's a good one. It's a good pool. Tom Savage, I do wonder what would have happened 2014 if Savage doesn't get hurt. If maybe things are a little bit different for him in 2014. Obviously, eventually Deshaun Watson, took his job, but it's 2014. 2014 is the year I'm thinking of. Vontae Leach, the human filing cabinet. Man, Vontae Leach at fullback was something to behold, man. Something to behold. Tony Baselli's pretty obscure, obviously famous for being the expansion draft pick. And Seth Payne has told the story before. Baselli was selected to kind of give Jacksonville cap relief. And there was, according to Seth, an under-the-radar agreement that if the Texans would select Baselli, regardless of if he ever played or not, because I think there were still some serious concerns about the shoulder, that they would leave Seth Payne and Gary Walker unprotected in the expansion draft so the Texans could draft them. That's a story that Seth's told a couple of different times. Vince Wilfork, legendary moment on Hard Knocks where Bill O'Brien was mad at the cameras and Vince Wilfork's standing behind him in overalls, just like hanging out. Jerome, Lonnie Ballantyne. Okay, this one's pretty obscure here. Pretty obscure. Here's what I remember about Lonnie Ballantyne, and this is dumb Cody take from the past. I believed in Lonnie Ballantyne because when you took Lonnie Ballantyne's height, weight, size, and performance at his pro day at Memphis, it was roughly the same as Cam Chancellor. And I was like, as a back end of the roster type of guy, maybe he could stick around, be a special teams demon, and work his way into the no. He wasn't very good. It's a good one, Jerome. Putting that in consideration. Man, CJ Fedorowicz. That's a good throwback name. Tight end, Iowa. My favorite CJ Fedorowicz story that I have is the first day of training camp for CJ Fedorowicz. Mike Vrabel was standing by as they were running through a special teams drill. And Fedorowicz kind of like jogs to his point on the field. And Mike Vrabel runs out on the field. And he's like, Fedorowicz! He's like yelling at him. He's like losing it. And he's like, Fedorowicz, you can't loaf on special teams. When we're just a 9-win team and we don't get that 10th win because you couldn't get the final block on special teams, we're going to remember that you loafed on special teams. It's the first day of training camp and Vrabel is lighting the guy up. It was so funny. Vrabel lit him up. You know what he didn't do after that? Loaf on special teams. Oh, Cam. This is a good one. Sonic Sam Montgomery. Sam Montgomery was a third-round pick by the Houston Texans. Montgomery was one of the players that the LSU strength and conditioning coach put a note in the corner of his office window that said, these players bail out of workouts early, do not work hard, and cannot be trusted to do their work in the weight room. A German 3. And the Texans still drafted him because Wade Phillips liked him, and then he never played really at all for them. That's in there. AJ Boye. It's a good one. That's a really good one. Ron Dane. Yeah, Ron Dane was a good one. That's a throwback. That's a deep cut. Ron Dane, I will remember him for for hurting Charles Spencer. He ran up behind Charles Spencer, and Spencer's leg was never the same. He never played football again. The Texans were supposed to have like that 2006 draft, Mario Williams, D'Amico Ryans, Eric Winston, Charles Spencer, and Owen Daniels. Like they were supposed to have, like it was supposed to be 5 huge foundation pieces: left tackle, right tackle, tight end, linebacker, and pass rusher. And Charles Spencer's, knee was destroyed after that. So I remember. Marcellus Rivers. You know what? I got nothing for you on Marcellus Rivers. I got nothing for you. I know I had to go look the name up, so that's pretty far back there. I got nothing for you on Marcellus Rivers. Matt Leinart. I always wonder what would have happened if Leinart had never got hurt with the Texans. Bradley Roby. Yep. Got a second-round pick for trading him. 37 version of Arian Foster. Jake Delhomme. That's good. Patrick. Sean McDermott, the long snapper. This is a deep pull, deep cut. Ooh, Trendon Holiday, the diminutive return man that the Texans had. That's a good one. Yep, Ryan Mallett. Unfortunately, no longer with us. I think he passed away saving somebody in the river a year or two ago. Again, another what if. If Mallett doesn't get hurt lifting weights and can finish that season, what happens to the Houston Texans that year? Are things different? Is Mallett's life, career, everything else different? Got hurt. If I remember correctly, the rumor was he got hurt lifting, like bench pressing. He tore his pec. Jonathan Grimes, he hung around for a while. Case Keenum's not obscure. Brock Osweiler. Eric Flowers. And Nate Washington's a good one. Tony Hollings is a good one. Amon Green. Tegan Quintiriano. Don't do that to Landry on the day he's gone. Isaiah Greenhouse. This one's pretty obscure. Isaiah Greenhouse. He one of those early days of the Texans? Yeah. Undrafted in 2010, basically only played football in 2010. Linebacker and fullback. That's pretty obscure. We're going to put Paul in the discussion here. Lestar Jean was a good one. Camp hero 1 year. Joel Heath, another camp hero. Okay. I got a good list here. All right, so I'm gonna narrow it down to 3 from these 5. Okay. So BJ Daniels, Lonnie Ballantyne, Sam Montgomery, Marcellus Rivers, and Isaiah Greenhouse. Okay, out of those 5, I'm going to narrow it down to 3. Obscure Houston Texans of history. Lonnie Ballantyne, I'm going to eliminate him from the obscure list here. Sam Montgomery, notable because he got cut in the middle of the season. I think he's smoking weed in a hotel. So we're going to get rid of him. So it's between BJ Daniels, Marcellus Rivers, and Isaiah Greenhouse. BJ Daniels, Marcellus Rivers, and Isaiah Greenhouse. Greenhouse played in 2 games in 2010. How did you find Isaiah Greenhouse, Paul? That is good. Marcellus Rivers is a fascinating one. Marcellus Rivers was with the Texans for 1 year? Way back in the day? What a pull by Isaiah Greenhouse and Marcellus Rivers. Yeah, so 1 year with the Texans as a tight end, played in 16 games, 24 catches for 168 yards in 2005. Well, they were awful in 2005, so that doesn't shock me. And in the early days of the BJ Daniels, 2015. 1 for 2 with 7 yards passing and 6 yards rushing. Oh, man. Arthur, Brandon, and Paul, you've done a really good job here. Oh, the people want a poll. Okay, let's do a poll. I'll get the poll set up here. Give me a moment to set the poll up. And I will set it up here. I'll get the poll. We'll let the people vote. We'll leave the poll open for 5 minutes here. This is a new feature that I discovered on YouTube. And I say new feature I discovered, I think it's been around forever, but I just discovered that it existed. So I'll put a poll up. We'll let the chat vote on who is more obscure between Rivers, Daniels, and Greenhouse. And if you Googled, I'm going to be really disappointed with you. Okay, I told you no Googling. All right, so Daniels, Rivers, and Greenhouse are the 3 here. Let's start a poll here. Add option. Daniels, Rivers, Greenhouse. So that's BJ Daniels. And then that is what? Marcellus Rivers? Pretty obscure. And then Isaiah Greenhouse. I think I used Isaiah right. Is AI. Okay. Who is the more obscure Houston Texans player? All right, the poll is active. Get your votes in. We'll leave the poll open here for, 5 or so minutes. Vote how you'd like. The more obscure Houston Texan. Arthur was very quick. I will say that. Arthur was very quick. That was a good pull by Arthur. Arthur must have, I have to imagine Arthur must have been at that game and watched BJ Daniels. Wow, Shiloh Keogh. That's a throwback name. I like that. That's a good one. That's a good one. There were some people that thought Shiloh Keogh was going to end up being pretty darn good football player. That did not happen. Charles James II, yeah, Mr. Crazy Socks and Mr. Hard Knocks. Crazy Socks on Hard Knocks. James Casey, fullback / tight end out of Rice. Oh, yeah. Ed Reed. Had, $10,000 stolen out of his front seat? Is that what happened to Ed Reed? DeVere Posey. That's a good one. Ohio State. David Johnson. Oh, David Johnson. Your knowledge of all these guys is amazing. I've watched a lot of Texans football, and sometimes fortunately and sometimes unfortunately. Danny Amendola, once called by Nick Caserio a lifelong Houston Texan. Once called by Nick Caserio a lifelong Houston Texan. Don't think that's going to be the case. Oh, Kahale Waring. 3rd round pick, tight end, San Diego State. Most famous for playing water polo before playing football. Looked the part, but couldn't play a lick of football. Awful selection by the Texans back in the day. Andre Howell. Andre Howell was a really good football player, dealt with the cancer diagnosis, came back, was still a really good football player, and then retired after he had a successful season back. So certainly, I understand, wanting to live your life after the scary thing that he dealt with. BJ Simmons, a late round draft pick by the Texans. Sonny Cumbie never got a shot in the pros, did he? Yeah, he played some arena ball, but BJ Simmons did. BJ Simmons was a 7th round pick by the Texans one year. Or sixth, he was 6th or 7th round pick. Still lives in Houston, I believe. Yeah, 7th round pick in 2004. Then played some NFL Europe and then played some arena ball. Boy, he could sling the crap out of that thing at Texas Tech. Him and Cumbie and Kingsbury and Graham Harriman, all those Mike Leach guys were just freaking awesome. DJ Swearinger. It was DJ Swearinger. It's good. Keyshawn Martin. That's a good pool. That's a really good pool. Jamie Sharper. Here's what I remember about Jamie Sharper, one of those early Texans defense guys. Really good in Madden for whatever reason. Really good in Madden. Yeah, one of those, some of these names stick in my brain because I had season tickets in those early years. And I used to remember the intros, and it was like the announcer would say the first name, the crowd's up to say the last name. And Sharper's one of the only times the crowd really got loud. Jamie Sharper. Alfred Blue. I don't think Alfred Blue played football in the NFL after the Texans. I wonder what Alfred Blue's doing these days. Nice guy. It never clicked. I guess he's on the Jaguars for 1 year, but it never, he rushed for nearly 700 yards in 2015, but he just, wasn't, I don't think he was never going to be more than a depth piece. He had a better NFL career than some people. Derek Mason's a great pool. Braxton Miller flipped into the end zone with the football on his first touchdown, and O'Brien just screamed at him, "Braxton, you got to protect the football." The football was not in danger ever. And Braxton, you got to protect the football. Like, dude, just let him get his first touchdown. Alfred Blue getting bullied by Cushing on Hard Knocks is, I don't think that's ever a great look for Cushing, but it's also very funny. It's also very funny. I had a long convo with David Carr at Fuddruckers the same year Marcellus Rivers was there. I love how we're in the middle of this and Cam's like, can we bring it back to normalcy here? I hope we don't have Jalen Petrie cover the slot anymore. You know what, Cam? I believe they have coverage guys that are going to play coverage snaps at slot cornerback that they don't want Petrie out there. I'll tell you what, Devontae Adams is going to be hunting him week 1. Devontae Adams wants another crack at Jalen Petrie. Quentin Dimps, again, another really good Madden football player. And then it was really solid a couple years he was on the Texans. Christian Polk, that's a throwback name. It's a deep cut. Anybody remember Christian Covington, defensive tackle? I saw him at the Polo store one time. The big guy Polo store. So, okay. Chat, the poll is closed here. We're going to end the poll here. Who is the winner of the poll? BJ Daniels gets the most obscure Houston Texans player. The poll is done. BJ Daniels is your winner. Arthur Wilson is the person that submitted BJ Daniels. Arthur, please send me an email with your address, Arthur. And I will get you that gift card. So Arthur, please send me an email, codystoots@gmail.com, CODYSTOOTS@gmail.com. And I will get you that gift card. And if you've tuned out here and you're just catching up later or whatever, send me the email. Arthur Wilson, please send me the email and I'll get you that gift card. So there we go. Okay. Have a little fun there. Thanks to the TikTok guy that got a Justin Britt, a Justin Britt autograph in the mail. Like Curtis Drummond. Yes. That's a throwback name too. Okay, so we started with Jayden Higgins, the third pass catching threat. We finished with some Houston Texans obscurity here on Friday. Certainly appreciate everybody participating on that one. Sean Cody, he was a fun guy. He did a lot of media with the Texans. He was a funny guy. If he'd stuck around Houston, I think he'd be in media covering the Texans. But I think he went back to USC or California to be around USC. He played at USC. All right, appreciate everybody coming through. Like, subscribe, ride along, as Landry would say. Always remember, when it comes to this Texan stuff, we are in it together. That's his catchphrase. My catchphrase will come to you at the end. We will have a show on Monday. Landry will be back next week. I got stuff coming for you on my channel. I got to imagine the locker room is still coming your way at 10:30. If you've missed anything from the locker room, it's all on the locker room channel. If you miss anything from my channel, go out and check it out this week. Got a conversation about rookie impact coming your way on my channel. Plus, the Oreo limited edition chocolate-covered pretzel Oreo food review. It's coming your way on the Cody Stoots channel later today. So be on the lookout for that. Members will get it early, but you will, of course, get it tonight. I gave you Landry's catchphrase. My catchphrase is the same as always. And thank you, everybody, for jumping in and weighing in and the obscure Texans. Want you to eat good. Want you to sleep good. Want you to be good. We'll talk Texans again soon. Thanks for watching, everybody.